Welcome back to the Michigan Football Network. And today we have some good news for Michigan football fans, not necessarily Lions fans as of right now, unfortunately. As we all know, the Lions lost to the Rams. But before we get into that, first things first, there have been some tides turning in the Michigan head coach search. I don't know if everybody saw this clip or not, but Kenny Dillingham recently, I think the day before yesterday, maybe it was yesterday, but I'm pretty sure it was the day before yesterday, he came out and did a press conference, and man, it didn't look like he was saying no at all. And the thing is, for me, right, watching that, and this is something where I just kind of randomly a couple weeks ago started watching some Kenny Dillingham interviews. So I kind of, you know, got to know him, quote unquote, through those a little bit. Obviously more than you would see watching Arizona State play. Um, but the way he worded this and how he said it, and the fact that he got choked up at one point, I don't know, man. I'm starting to kind of feel like he might be coming to Michigan.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I want him, so I don't know if I'm reading into it what I want to read into it or what's actually happening because it could be like you said signs that he was point blank asked like, "Hey, can you shut down the Michigan rumors and be like, "Hey, you're staying, right?" Like just give everyone peace of mind." And he's like, "Well, I'm going to do the best job wherever I coach." And it's just like but so I don't know if on one hand
Nope. Think we lost you, James. But with that being said, I will just say the exact specific quote
as a
that
Michigan
Kenny
fan,
Dillingham said. Oh,
I took
are you back? Nope. Okay. So he exactly what he said was he was asked if he wanted to put the Michigan rumors to rest, and he responded with, "I think my job is to do whatever I can for the people that are with me, right? The people that are in the foxhole, the coaches that are in the foxhole with me. I got to do whatever I can to fight for those people, for my family, for everything from that perspective. I love it here. I've said that since day one. That's absolutely never changing. Absolutely never changing. So yeah, that piece is never changing. And that was when he started to get a little choked up. Um and it kind of just seemed, I'm not going to say it was a is this it situation, but personally, man, like it was just when I what's up, James? You're back. Um but it for me it was just
jam
like
back. Sorry about that, guys.
no worries. I just went over, the exact quote and um I just feel like this is literally him having to decide, do I want to stay in Arizona State forever, or do I make this big move, make more money? It's probably, you know, better for his family and things like that. And I think that's why he said what he said, because he literally said, I think my job is to do whatever I can for the people that are with me. Mentioned coaches and da da da. And then he said, but for my family, he said, for my family, for everything from that perspective. And then he said, I love it here. I've said that since day one. That's absolutely never changing. So yeah, that piece is never changing. That is what gets me. So yeah, that piece is never changing. The fact that he loves it here will never change. Bro, I don't know. I think he basically just said, guys, I'm leaving. Like,
Yeah, and what I was trying to say before my internet cut out, sorry again about that. Trust me, it's as frustrating on this end as it is for the viewers, especially only 2 minutes in. But on one hand, I know that obviously Michigan is pursuing him, but I know he is also has had conversations about an extension at ASU. So I don't know if he's potentially just trying to leverage this Michigan situation into a bigger contract while staying at ASU. So I wouldn't put that past him, but I also don't want to, like I said before, I don't want to read too much into it just because I'm a Michigan fan and I do want him because those comments, like you said, that the stars align that kind of means he might be coming here. But at the
I
same
mean,
time, he can just be trying to get more resources. Maybe if they agreed, Arizona State, if they agreed to a higher NIL package or something else He might just be using Michigan as a negotiation piece, I should say.
And yeah, that's very possible, and that's a good point. And the way that I look at this is no, does it mean he's definitely coming to Michigan? Definitely not. However, the door is definitely open. And
Oh
that's
yes,
something
yeah.
that I did not see coming. I mean, I've said it before on the show many times. I didn't think Kenny Dillingham was ever going to come to Michigan. I didn't think he was ever going to leave Arizona State. But those comments kind of make me think that it's very possible at this point. Um, with that being said, though, there's really not a lot of new information in terms of the Michigan head coach, excuse me, search. Oh Jesus. Um, just I'm getting my ass kicked over here. But anyway, there's really not that much new information outside of the Kenny Dillingham quotes. I know Biff Poggi came out and said that we will have a new head coach by the end of the month, but that's like okay, we still got a little bit to go here. And I mean, the game that we play is December 31st. So, chances are we wait that long. I don't know, man. I just
I
don't
don't
know
think the
what's
game
going to
matters,
happen.
to be honest. So,
No, I mean, it doesn't, but it is a game that we are going to play and the players are going to play. And I mean, I'm going to watch it probably.
oh, I'll
Um,
watch it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just have Biff coach the one game, just like he did when Moore was suspended for a handful of games or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
like I said last
mhm.
week, that's kind of what I assume will happen, and that's kind of what I was saying with, there's a potential that Biff might get a shot, but I don't really see that necessarily happening. Um, I don't know though. It just seems like the longer it goes, the more I guess worried I'd be about it, in my opinion, because I just feel like that means they're not really sure where they want to go, in what direction. But that makes sense because of where they're at right now. And I mean, all the stuff going on with the athletic director there. Um, there's still a lot of kinks to iron out in
Yep.
terms of the entire situation. So I don't know. It just is one of those things, especially, I guess, if you're just trying to poach somebody, it doesn't really make a difference at the end of the day because they already have a job. And if they're going to leave that job for this job, they're going to do it January 2nd or December 21st. It doesn't matter at that rate. So, but with that being said, that's really all we got for the college football segment this week. Very short segment, simply because there's not a lot of news going on right now. We're going to wait a little bit, for, transfer portal stuff and all that until the actual transfer portal is open because there won't be shit to talk about other than that when that happens.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like nothing's
so
happened with that. So,
yeah. So with that being said, moving on to the Lions, which is a little bit going to be a little bit more negative. I'm sorry, folks. That's where we're at right now. The Lions season is not looking too hot. But before we jump into playoff hopes and playoff chances and things like that, let's just go ahead and start with the Rams game. Um, my biggest takeaway from this Rams game is this Lions team feels different than the last few years. Um, we're getting beat up physically. First of all, that was the biggest difference this year compared to other years. Um, and we also do not adjust well, it seems, this season. Like, we come out of half and we're not really any better than we were in the first half. And in the game against the Rams, for instance, I mean, they scored 20 unanswered points in the third quarter. Like, that's rough, man. That's rough. And the fact that we were up by 10 to being down by 10 like that, it's I don't know, man. And I'm not saying this is a Dan Campbell issue at all. I do feel like the play calling was fine. I mean, he's done a really good job the last few weeks calling plays, I feel like. But really, it's the defense right now for me, and has been the last few weeks. Really, since the Eagles game, they haven't really got much done. But with that being said, really, I feel like offensively, the pass game was really good. I mean, you can't really debate that too much. Goff had 338 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. The offensive line actually held up pretty well in the pass rush. I was very surprised how much time Goff had throughout the game. He did get sacked one time, but I mean, come on, dude. When you're playing the Rams D line, you can't be mad at that. The big thing, though, that I had a problem with offensively was the run game, which I know everybody had a problem with because it was not good. A total of what, 70 total rushing yards, 38 from Jameer and 32 from David Montgomery. Just not good enough. Obviously, the pass game was great. Amon-Ra, 13 catches, 164 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Jamison Williams, 7 for 134 and a touchdown. Those two guys showed out. But I just, and this goes back to the getting out physical thing. It's, we're getting beat in the run game. Like, we don't normally have that issue. And that's what happens when you're missing a guy like Frank Ragnow, unfortunately. Uh, it just is what it is. And I know that sucks because it's kind of like pouring salt in the wound right now, folks, because he was supposed to be here. Um, Man, this season has been so wild, dude. Like, it's been like this every week, every single week, just up and down. I'm just kind of, racking my brain right now over the weeks of things that have happened. Like we started, 0-1 getting beat up by the Packers, and then we looked great for a couple weeks, looked like we were back, and then we just kind of fell back down. And then Ragnar was supposed to come back, and then he didn't. And it's like, oh, we just can't catch a break right now. Um, but yeah, and then defensively, just kind of rough overall. Too many big plays. Run game was too just. It was too easy for them. Simply, I mean, if we look at their yards per carry, Kyron Williams had 78 yards on 15 carries, 5.2 yards per carry. Blake Corum had 6.5 yards per carry with 71 yards on 11 rushes. And Kyron Williams had 2 touchdowns and Blake Corum had one. And then Puka Nakua, 9 for 181. Colby Parkinson had 5 for 75 and 2 touchdowns. And Devontae Adams had 4 for 71 and he left the game with a hamstring injury. So who knows how that would have looked if he would have stayed. Um, and the recent comments by Kelvin Shepard, personally, I don't really love, if I'm being honest with you. Uh,
What
I mean,
comments were that?
I, I'm not like mad at him about it, but it's like,
They were
okay,
head scratchers.
yeah, it's like, okay, you might want to take some accountability here, man. Like, I'm sorry, but that makes it a little worse in my opinion. Because a couple weeks ago he mentioned something like, "Look, the players just need to execute better," and he's not wrong. No, he's not. But as their coach, you have to put them in the position to execute better. And I feel like right now there are some things that are questionable with what our defensive scheme is doing. Simply, like we've talked about the last few weeks, putting Aleem McNeil at the edge. Why? I get it. He's athletic, but like, guys, come on. This isn't really helping us. And then recently he made the remarks about how he thought the run defense was adequate outside of 2 or 3 plays. Okay, man. I don't know what you saw, but that's not what I saw. I did not see a good run defense. I mean, to, in totality, no, it wasn't great if you look at the stats. But I mean, they did have a handful of really good run defensive plays, but the ones that were bad. Like you really can't, do much about
Yeah,
that.
he said, in my opinion, one of the classic things that, and if you follow me on Twitter, you know that I call out, um, I'll just quote unquote say fans about when they say, for any team, not just Lions fans, when they're like, oh, well, if these 5 plays didn't happen, then we'd had a good game. I'm like, but they did. So
Yep.
yeah, if you take away the Rams' 5 best runs, we might have had a good run defense. But it happened. They had 2 different backs averaging over 5 a carry. They had 2 different backs with a rushing touchdown. Williams had 2, in addition to picking up 5 yards of rush. Hell, Puka Nakua had 2 rushes attempts for 8 yards, a 4 point average, or 4 yards per carry average for their receiver, in addition to his 181 receiving yards. So yeah, like in the theory, he didn't lie, but you can't just ignore the bad plays. It's just like, oh, if Vildor didn't let the ball bounce off his face mask, the Lions were in the Super Bowl. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it happened, so we weren't. So, and
Yeah.
then the other thing I wanted to touch up on is, like you mentioned, the lack of run game, and I've known about it for a little bit, but it's I guess time for me to speak on it. Now I've only went back 5 games, and I know I can go back more and find more statistical analysis to kind of not sugarcoat, but provide evidence to my claim here. In order to fix the Lions' run game, we need to use David Montgomery more. I know everyone loves Gibbs. I love Gibbs too. Yeah, I have him in fantasy for what that's worth because I know some people out there it's huge. I don't. I hope to God that Campbell doesn't run the offense via fantasy wise. But in 4 of the last 5 games the Lions have played, David Montgomery has averaged more yards per carry than Gibbs has in 4 of the last 5 games. So over the last month, per touch, rushing, not because I know Gibbs has his receiving, but per rushing attempt, Montgomery is outproducing Gibbs. Same games, same O-line, same everything. Here against the Rams, Gibbs averaged 2.9 a carry and Montgomery 4.6. I'm rounding, but 4.6. Why are we giving it to someone who averages a yard and a half less per carry? Like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we should stop using Gibbs, but we have Montgomery for a reason. We already gave Montgomery an extension for a reason. And yet, Campbell had to answer a question about his declining role, saying he's handling it as a professional and blah, blah, blah. Why does he have a declining role? That's my question I would like answered. Also, going back to the Rams game, Montgomery had the only rushing touchdown of the game. So Montgomery was averaging more yards per carry and had the TD. And if you want to go into further factors, the longest rush of the game by a Lion was 10 yards by David Montgomery. Gibbs' longest run was 6. So Gibbs is just flat out, I'm sorry, Montgomery is just outproducing Gibbs over these last 5 games in terms of per touch. And yet, as the weeks go on, I feel like we're seeing less and less of Montgomery, and it just does not make sense to me.
Yeah, and I agree with you there. The only thing that I will say is to play some devil's advocate is I would like to see what packages those two guys are in, what formations they're in, because not to say, obviously, I would
That's
assume
fair.
Montgomery's probably in on more jumbo stuff, so there's more blockers. But that's not to say that you're wrong. I do agree, though, that they definitely should use David Montgomery more. But at the same time, maybe that means we need to use jumbo more and more big sets to
Yeah.
be able to be physical because we've been getting beat up this year, like we talked about a little bit earlier. And I mean, Glasgow again is on the injury report, so like we're gonna need to help these guys out. You know what I mean, and give our guys a little bit more blocking help, like with fullbacks and things like that. And obviously, it sucks because our tight ends are hurt, so we don't really have a lot to work with in that standpoint. But we went out and made some additions, so hopefully they can help us out there. Um,
Yeah,
but
that is a
is there
good
anything
point.
you
So
wanted to
if you
add?
can use Montgomery in the same sets that, I'm sorry, if you can use Gibbs in the same sets you're having success with Montgomery, maybe it goes a little more. Because like I said, I'm not saying Montgomery's better, but
Hmm.
he's just the one who's being productive. So just kind of ride the hot hand, you know?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I do agree, especially with the last game, it seemed like our run game was working a lot better when Montgomery was in there. And also, I would like to see a lot more of them two on the field together, man. Like, I hate that
Yeah.
Montgomery and Gibbs are barely ever on the field together. If I were the OC, like, I would have them on the field together almost every play that I could. Like
Yep.
Montgomery as the single back and Gibbs as the slot or whatever the case
Yep.
may be. Use these guys all over the place. Shoot, you could use them in a two back set. I mean, if you wanted to. I just don't understand why we don't necessarily do that more often with the talent that we have, especially considering we don't have the tight ends right now to help with that personnel. So that's really where I'm at with it. But with that being said, obviously it was just a rough loss, man. Like it seemed like we had it in the bag, to be honest with you. I was at halftime being like, yeah, man, we might just pull this off. This feels pretty good. I felt like we would. I was like, all right, I'm gonna get some snacks. I'm gonna chill, you know. And then they came out in that third quarter, and I was like, damn. I'm gonna turn this off, I think. Like that's where I was at.
Oh,
And
it
then we
wasn't
scored.
that bad.
I mean, dude, I'm telling you, it was like they were up 41 to 27 and I was like with like 8 minutes left and I was like, "All right, man. Where are we at? Where are we at right now? Cuz we ain't done shit. We literally didn't score a point until the fourth quarter. And it was what, 24 to 17 at half, or 24 to 14 at half, and we end.
24-17.
Oh yeah, you're right, because they kicked that field goal late, real late. Which that was rough too. I mean, there was only 30 seconds
Yeah.
left on the clock, and we allowed 3 points. And I think that carried them into halftime and being like, "Oh, we can do this shit. This is we got this."
Yeah,
And
they
then
outscored us 17-0 in the third quarter.
okay, so and then coming out in the fourth quarter, we only scored 3 points in the whole second half. Or I'm sorry, in the whole third
10.
quarter. Yeah.
0. We had 0 in the third, 10 in the fourth.
Okay. So I'm thinking that field goal that was whatever early in the fourth quarter was in the third
Yep.
quarter. That's where I'm at. Okay. So point being that regardless, we got outscored what 20 to
20,
3 until the last 5
24-10 in
minutes.
the second half.
But I'm saying
Oh,
outside of the
24 to
last
3 outside of that, yeah. 24 to
outside of the
3
last
outside of that.
5 minutes, it was
Yep.
24 to 3 in the second
Yep.
half. That's ridiculous in my opinion. Like
Kind of
and
felt a
at
lot
that
like the San Francisco game.
yeah, it did. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier where I think we need to start having a conversation about these collapses because they've happened way too often. And I'm not going to blame Dan Campbell. I'm not going to blame anybody. There needs to be something that it happens that changes because something when we go in the halftime and our adjustments and everything we do are just not working. It's not good enough. Like I don't know what to do at this point because I'm not in those meetings. I don't know all the information. You know what I mean? I don't know who's saying what and what's happening, but something has to change because I mean, that was a great point. You can take it all the way back to 2023 against the 49ers, man. Like, that is the quintessential loss of this regime. If you think about it, like, that's the one that everybody goes, fuck. If we just got that one, dude, if we got that one, we would have done what the Lions have never done, at least made it to a Super Bowl. Who knows about winning it? I mean, we can have that conversation too. Who knows? We probably could have won that Super Bowl because I think that was the year the Chiefs beat the Niners the second time. Yeah, okay. So the Chiefs won that one, and it was a close game, though. I remember it being very close, and I feel like we could have got that win. But either way, point being, regardless of the win or not, we would have made it to a Super Bowl. And now we're talking about it yet again, where we were up at halftime on a team that's really good, and they came back and kind of felt like a beatdown. I mean, think about it, dude. 24 to 3 is kind of nuts. Like that's rough. So I don't know. That's where I'm at. I just feel like we need to have that conversation because it's becoming a
No, I
problem.
agree. We definitely need to have that conversation. Just like I think, and I'm not saying all of it because it's not. It's, as you know, football. It's a lot of little things, but one of the major ones, and I already touched on it, I think is the run game. If we can start running the ball better, then we can just run the clock out more with a heavier ground game and just
Hmm.
milk away the clock, have 6, 7 minute drives in the second half, and just end the game that way. But when you don't have a run game, or I don't want to say using the wrong running back, 'cause like I said, I love Gibbs, but it just wasn't working. Like when it's not
I mean,
working, quit
I
feeding
don't
them.
think I don't think it's that simple though. I mean, Gibbs is clearly the better player. I mean, let's be real here.
100%.
You're giving Gibbs the ball twice as many times as Monty simply because he's just that much better. However, I think it's a schematic thing more than it is the guy who we're handing the ball. Because, like I mentioned before, a lot of the sets are different. They're a lot more jumbo. And I'm not saying we don't use Gibbs and jumbo. But my point is, when you got Gibbs in the backfield, you know what the defense is doing? Shit, Gibbs is back there. We better make sure we don't let him squeak out and get some yards on us. When Monty's back there, they're going, okay, this could be a run, but we're also playing pat. You get what I'm saying here? So it's like they're keying Gibbs when he's on the field. So there's four guys swarming him every play because that's what they're looking for. I mean, I guarantee you the Rams defensive coordinator said, "Do not let him beat you."
Yeah, and they did a good job of that.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I think your point in that feeds perfectly into is what you said earlier, is get both of them on the field then.
Hmm.
Especially with our lack of tight end at the moment, just get your best 11 players on the field. With if you have like Gibbs in the slot, Montgomery in the back, I mean, you can still do end arounds with JMO and stuff. Teams don't know what the hell's about to happen.
Right.
And you have reliable people on the field because Montgomery can still catch out of the backfield just fine. Like that's not an issue for him.
Hmm.
So it gives you more to work with, in my opinion. It makes the defense think more, and as we said, and as you just mentioned, the more you make the defense think, the more opportunities you will have.
Yeah, 100%. And at the end of the day, too, I mean, the offense isn't the issue, but coming into this
No.
game, like we all knew, run game, keep the ball away from frickin' Stafford, man. And in that second half, we couldn't. He got the ball over and over and over again and scored every time. And now, to be fair, like our offense didn't do that great in the second half as well as the defense. So they didn't help each other, of course, but the defense was like not playing great the whole game, really. I mean, the first half they did okay. I mean, they had a handful of really good plays and a couple stops there. But they still put up 17 points in the first half. And like we mentioned, the 30-second field goal, that should have never happened. Like, I remember I got up to do something, like make a sandwich or something like that, and I was in my kitchen, and I remember hearing the first big play, and I was like, "Oh shit, are you kidding me?" I come, running back into my living room, and I'm watching, and I'm just like, "We're really about to let them score right now." Like that's where we're at. What? It just felt like so demoralizing in that moment, and that's why I also think they were able to carry that into the second half, and that also was a big reason why they were able to come back. Now, with that being said, if you told me we lost 41 to 34 and that's all you said, I would have been like, respectable. I ain't mad at it. I mean, it's the Rams, the best team in the NFC right now. I thought we would lose. I think most people thought we would lose. But the fashion in which we did it, where we showed we could hang and then just fell apart, that's a problem. But with that being said, we will now move on to the upcoming game. Do you have anything else to add, I guess, before we move
I
on?
don't know if I want to drop it.
What?
Like we mentioned with the us falling apart in the second half, with it reminding us of San Francisco. I don't want to dare say it, but F it, just throwing it out there. What if that's the new same old Lions?
We've been that same old Lions before, I think, with Barry. I wasn't alive at that point, but I feel like
That
that
was
was
before
kind
I
of the
was watching. I was around, but
yeah.
I wasn't watching football then.
I
But
remember everybody always telling me like it seemed like we just could we got to the NFC title game or we just couldn't win the divisional or whatever the case. It felt like, and I think that like I remember when I was growing up and everybody would be like, "Oh, Lions fans, it's every year is our year." Once 2008 happened, no one said that anymore. And I feel like that was kind of it came from the 90s Lions fans that they
yeah,
literally felt every year, man. It's like we're going to win it this year, bro. We got the best back in football. You know what I mean? Like and it
it
just
had
never
to have.
happened.
Because as like a 2000 and on fan, I don't, or at least people in my circle, no one said this is our year.
Yeah,
So,
no. Mm-mm. I
I
just remember
mean,
getting made fun of by Packers fans all the time or Bears
yeah, like
fans because they were like, "Oh, you
growing up,
guys always think it's your year."
yeah, like growing up, like 4 to 5 wins was a solid year for us. Like we
Yeah.
were constantly picking in the top five, like we were and should have been the butt of all the jokes. So
Hmm.
like I'm glad we're not those lines, obviously, anymore. Um, how I guess I was gonna say like the modern Jets, but I feel like the Jets have kind of been bad since my childhood. Besides the 2 or 3 years they had Sanchez going a good run,
Yeah.
but yeah, like thankfully we at least worked it out. I'm like it's an interesting spot to be in, sitting here at 8-6 and kind of saying this isn't enough. That is still new,
Right.
but
But to be fair, this is a
yeah,
very weird year where it
it
isn't
is.
enough. It's not enough right now to be 8-6. Like with how the
Yeah,
NFC North and the NFC as a whole is shaken out, we have to win more games, which we'll talk about a little bit later. This is not like even if we win out, there's a chance we miss the playoffs, dude. So, but well, we'll
Mhm.
talk about that a little bit later. But with that being said, um, there was something I wanted to touch on that you just mentioned, but I lost my train of thought. Um,
With my most recent
yes, most
points,
recent point.
I made the new same old Lions, which
Oh,
I hate
yes, that's
myself
what it
for
was.
saying,
That's
but
what it
okay.
was. So I personally believe football or any sport, right? I don't think there's anything no such thing as curses really. I mean, in reality, it's not really that I just don't believe in it, honestly. And I feel like you could be cursed, but I just think that's ineptitude over and over and over and over and over. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you get the right person, I don't think that part matters. So, my point is, I don't think the same old Lions is a thing at all because it was a thing for like a decade, you know what I'm saying? But now we're to the point where new ownership, new GM, new head coach, brand new players, like I just don't even feel that vibe anymore, if that makes sense. Like there is no like, oh, the Lions. It's like, no, this is a good football team, and we have been for the past 3, 4 years. And I also feel like with a sport like football, you can definitely turn teams around. I mean, it's been done many, many times. I mean, look at the Patriots, before Bill Belichick got there. I mean, there's been a lot of teams that just kind of came out of nowhere. They sucked forever, and then they were really good for a while. Then they sucked again, and then they were really good for a while. So we'll kind
Look
of
at the
see how that
Colts.
goes.
They
Yeah,
turned themselves around this season twice. They were looking
right.
great, and now they look like
Very true. And sometimes it's a bad turnaround. You never
yeah,
know.
they turned around twice. I don't know why, but
Yeah, but that's my point. Is I feel like personally, I just don't buy into that the whole like this is just who we are thing because every year there's new talent, new coaches, new this, new that. And as long as you're hiring the right people, as long as you got the right people in place, you'll be fine. Which my point with that is I think we do. So I think we will be fine. And even if we don't make the playoffs this year, I think we'll be fine because it was a very weird year. If we go 11-6 or 10-5 or 10-7 and miss the playoffs, I don't think Lions fans can be that mad. I mean, yes, you can be pissed because we should be in the playoffs, but it's like we still had a winning season. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be upset, but it's not the end of the world, basically. Um, but with that being said, moving on to the Steelers game this upcoming Sunday. Personally, we should win out. I believe that we should win out. The Steelers don't scare me. Um, but they do have potential because of their passing offense, and they do have a really good run offense as well. But I was looking at some stats, and the Steelers' offensive line is really, really good, man. They were the fifth ranked offensive line per Pro Football Network, which is not Pro Football Focus. It's different, but they ranked them fifth overall. And on top of that, uh, pass blocking, they are among the best in the league in almost every statistical category. In NFL pressure rate, in pressure rate, pressures, and quick pressure rate. So they lead the league in all three of those, which means they don't allow pressure. So this is going to be a really big question mark, I guess, for the Lions with their pass rush. Like, are we going to be able to get it done against the Steelers' offensive line that is literally the best pass blocking line in football? We'll see. That's what scares me because we've had problems with our pass rush really all year. But if it looks good this week, then we might, feel a little bit better going in through the rest of the season. But of course, they have DK Metcalf. They have two really solid running backs this year in Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. He's really come on as well this year for the Steelers. So their offense scares me. Defense, not so much, really, if I'm being honest. I feel like this is going to be similar to the Rams game, but I feel like it'll be a shootout for the most part, but we should win probably by 7, I would say. Um, because if you look at their defense, they are currently ranked, let's see, they are currently ranked 28th in total defense, 27th in pass defense, and 19th versus the run. And they are likely to be without TJ Watt and Nick Herbig, their two pass rushers. So that's really big if TJ Watt doesn't play because this year, he's about all they got on defense. I mean, their defense has not been good, like I just said, with their rankings. So I'm not too worried about this game, honestly, but at the same time, it is not one we can go into. I mean, similar to the Giants, man. We said it going into the Giants game. You can't go into this game going, we're going to win because they have the firepower, at least on offense, to keep up, if not score more points than we do. So, and I know Aaron Rodgers is old. He's washed. No, he's not. I told you that before the season started. He ain't washed, and I think he's shown it this season. Obviously, he's not fucking Aaron Rodgers from 2020. We know that. But, like, he's still a pretty damn good quarterback. If Philip Rivers can come out here and sling it at 45 after sitting on the couch for a few years, I think Rodgers is be just fine.
5 years off, man.
Dude, which kind of crazy. I saw it's kind of an aside. Tom Brady mentioned he would be willing to come back for a playoff run, so we might see that. I don't know who the hell would do that, but I don't know. Colts maybe if they get to that point because I think I'd take Tom Brady right now over Philip Rivers.
Oh, 100%. He
Because
played
like
more recently, and he's
yeah,
Tom Brady.
right. So I mean, I'm sure he's keeping way better shape than Philip Rivers because Philip Rivers is like 280 right now, slinging that thing. So
He was
and I'm sure
literally
Brady's
on
got more
the
arm.
Yeah, he was literally in the Hall of Fame voting ballot because it's been 5 years and now it gets
Hmm.
reset. Like Brady
Yeah.
just played what 2 years ago,
Yeah, something like
so I'm
yeah,
like
I
half
think
the time
2
off,
or
way
3.
more. Yeah, I would go with Brady, but
Yeah. But I mean, who knows? That would be kind of a funny turn of events if the Colts go, "Hey Rivers, you're out. Brady, you're in." What a turn of events for Brady too to play with the frickin' Colts of all teams.
yeah, just
You
bring
know,
in Brady and Kaepernick for workouts and
yep.
see what happens.
Fuck it. No, but with that being said, I do think that I feel pretty good about this game. But again, it feels kind of like a trap game a little bit because I could see Aaron Rodgers going out there and lighting us up with DK Metcalf because that's just kind of our luck this season.
Yeah, I agree with you, as boring as that is. Um, I do think we sweep the rest of the games, and this one is, I think, of our remaining games, might be the easiest. Now, I
Hmm.
don't want to, like you mentioned, overlook them. However, uh, the Bears are on fire right now. They just, well, not just, but recently beat Philly. Vikings, I want to take them lightly, but I did the first time and they beat us, so
Hmm.
can't really do that. And then Steelers, like Aaron Rodgers isn't what he used to be. No, like you said, he's got gas in the tank. He's not Philip Rivers. I don't know if you saw that throwing motion, but it looks like he hasn't thrown a ball in 5 years. And yeah, like I do have confidence in this game, especially if TJ Watt doesn't go, which right now it says he's basically 50-50 from what I'm reading.
Hmm.
Um, but even for what little it's worth, Google has our win probability at 73%. So I'm like,
Hmm.
I do like our odds and whatnot. I think they don't have the firepower on offense that will put more points on the board than our offense will put up on their defense.
Hmm.
I'm not saying they can't score, but I see this being like a 31-21 type of game for the Lions.
Yeah, and I can definitely agree there. The only real thing that I won't say I'm worried about, but they did just add Asante Samuel, so he has looked pretty good the last few weeks since he started playing there. But I mean, this is a Steelers secondary that has been super bad all season. Um, Wait a minute, Minka Fitzpatrick's with the Dolphins now. Okay,
Yeah,
I keep I keep forgetting because he went from the Dolphins to the
Dolphins to
Steelers back to the
Pittsburgh to
Dolphins.
Dolphins. Yep.
Um, but once they got rid of Minka, like I mean, Minka wasn't great last year as is, but it feels like once they got rid of Minka, they kind of fell off a little bit in the backfield defensively, at least. And then they cut Darius Slay as well because obviously he wasn't playing that well. Jalen Ramsey, though, I will say has been decent this year. I mean, he's not Jalen Ramsey of old by any means, but he's been solid. I'm not gonna say that it's one of those defensive secondaries that we're definitely gonna go out there and put up 50 against, but it's not necessarily gonna be too tough, especially considering the fact that T.J. Watt might not play, because their pass rush hasn't been great this year as is.
It's not, and I think it's worth noting, which I mean, maybe you had it scheduled for a little bit later in the program, but for all intents and purposes, it seems like Mahogany is going to rejoin the Lions O line this week.
Hmm.
So with the O line looking at least decent, because obviously it can look better, but with it looking decent against the Rams, like you mentioned, Goff did have time.
Hmm.
Mahogany is a massive upgrade. Um, I've not been a big Tristan Colon fan, and what I find interesting is obviously from day one he's been our left guard, but it looks like Glasgow has missed practice the last couple of days with a knee injury. So I don't know if Cologne will just shift over to center, or what's exactly going on with that, but something to keep an eye on, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of good segue into my next point, um, which might be a little off topic because this isn't necessarily the Steelers game, but just about our offensive line kind of in general. I'm not so sure because I know everybody's like, we need to go draft a center in the first or second round next year. I don't know, man. If I'm being honest with you, I don't know what Ratledge looks like at center because we haven't seen him play in regular season yet. But if that's the idea with him is he's gonna play center if that's the whole point. I think having Frazier and Mahogany at guard is just
Hmm.
fine. If I'm being honest with you, like watching Frazier play the last few weeks, he hasn't played every snap. Obviously, he's playing snap count, but
I
he's
wish
looked
he played
really
every
good.
snap.
Me
Yeah,
too, man. He's been way better than Cologne, especially because like Cologne in the run game is
we
good.
can call him
He's
Colin
pretty
now.
good. I don't know, man. I think he held up pretty well. I'm not gonna lie to you.
He's had a
For
couple
a
decent plays. I will give him that.
yeah, I mean
But
it's not like he's just getting tossed around like Giovanni Manu was. Like he's not looking like that. You know what I mean?
for
And
what it's worth, Manu is also returning to practice.
yep,
Slash his practice window has been opened.
yep.
Don't know if that
Um,
helps, but he's there
yeah,
now.
but you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
with Cologne, I just feel like his run blocking is good. Pass
Yeah.
blocking, not so much. That's where he really struggles. And I think a lot of it is just over aggression with him because he's so aggressive in the run game. It makes him good, but in the pass game, he's not that great. And I
Yeah,
think
I'm glad,
Frazier is just as good in the run game, but better in the pass game.
and I agree with you, and I'm glad you mentioned Cologne's positive run blocking because I'm like the 3 or 4 plays that stand out in a good way vividly to me. He's always pulling.
Hmm.
He's always like the pulling lead blocker, and he does pretty well in that role.
Hmm.
But if you ever see Goff being forced out of the pocket or rolling out, there's a 90% chance it was him who's missed his block.
Yep, and that's the problem this year. I feel like is it's kind of always been that same spot. It doesn't I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter who's been playing there, but it does seem like that center left guard. That's kind of been the issue. Obviously, everybody's lost here and there. Don't get me wrong, but in total, that spot is really the issue right now. But with my point, I still think we should draft an interior O lineman, in the third, fourth round. But I also think we need to draft a tackle in the next 2 years to replace Decker. Hopefully, he doesn't retire before his contract is up, but you always got to prepare for the worst. And obviously, the Manu thing, the jury's out on that right now. I mean, from what we saw, it didn't look great. He's still young. I mean, he's got all the physical tools, but
Yep.
I'm not going to put my Super Bowl eggs in that basket. Sorry.
Absolutely not. No. No, I agree with you entirely. And for what little, actually, if any, it's worth, um, and I haven't gone out looking for them, but the mock drafts I've seen some Lions fans post on X almost all have a tackle going in the first round. So
And that doesn't surprise me really,
it
but I
doesn't
mean,
surprise me either.
I don't know about it this year. I could see next year though. I don't know if we draft a tackle in the first round
I
this year.
haven't looked into like the college prospects of who's actually coming out and all of that. So, I mean, if the talent's there, take it, of course, but
Hmm.
I wouldn't like just circle it and say best lineman no matter what.
I
But
do genuinely believe this is the year that Brad Holmes takes a first round edge because this is a pretty solid defensive draft. It's not that great offensively. 2027 though is an insane draft on both sides of the ball, so that'll be a fun one. But this year's draft, I think, is when you're going to see the Lions take an edge because that's going to be the best player available. And I think kind of that's Brad's MO is best player available. And I know this last year he didn't think an edge was the best player available when other people did, and that's fine. However, I don't think it's going to be that much of an argument. However, I could see a corner. Don't get me wrong. I could see it because right now DJ Reed, eh, and Terrion Arnold, he's been good, but he's been really hurt
hurt
every
a
year.
lot,
And Rakestraw hasn't played
hurt
this
of the
season,
year.
so I
Amik's been
think
up and
corner makes
down.
sense. Yeah, and he's on his last year of his contract, so like I could definitely see a corner, but I think it'll be defense either way in the first round this year. And it kind of segues into my next point. I think this whole offseason is going to be defense. Like we might need to replace Brian Branch, okay? And I'm not saying like definitely, but he just tore his Achilles. He's coming into a contract season, and we've already paid Kirby Joseph. Kirby Joseph has that knee issue. Might need to think about drafting a safety in the mid rounds next year. Corner obviously. I think we need another edge. The interior D line needs help because McNeil hasn't quite been himself this year, and DJ Reader's leaving. And obviously we drafted Williams, and I'm not saying to take a defensive tackle in the first round, but we could use some more depth there, maybe the fourth,
Yep.
fifth, sixth round. So I just feel we're going to see like two offensive players drafted for the Lions this offseason, and maybe some free agents. I could see that like a backup tight end we need, things like
So when
that.
they go tight end, receiver 1 and 2, then
We might be the same old Lions.
be like
I'd be
Laporta's
like,
knee's gone, and then
I'd be like, where's Martin Mayhew at? Is he in inside of Brad Holmes' skin right now? Because what the fuck is going on? Like what?
third
Uh,
round quarterback like another Hendon Hooker. Like
dude,
just
honestly though,
we don't have a third.
this might be the draft where you do take a mid-round quarterback because I think obviously we don't have a third round pick, but I do think like a fourth round, maybe, depending on who it is, a second round pick. Call me crazy, but
Let's say we
I
might
think
gain. Sorry, go ahead.
no, you're good.
We might gain a third
Mhm.
via a comp pick or something because this is
Yeah,
Anzalone's last year of his deal also, and
he ain't giving us
they.
a comp pick.
You don't think so?
No, he would have to get paid, bro. Like
Like
big
I don't think
time
it would be a
paid.
third, but
I
um,
mean, I think about it. He'll probably get like $7 million a year, $8 million a year. He's only making like
should
six
be a
right now for the
sixth.
Lions. No, not. We would probably sign somebody that makes about that much.
Oh, I forgot our signings
Yeah.
do.
I
Okay,
mean,
fair enough, fair
if we
enough.
don't, yes, we'd probably get like a sixth, but I just feel like the Lions this offseason, we're not going to make any big splashes probably, but I mean, definitely, but we will probably go after a couple
Yeah,
depth
6, 7.
guys.
No, I forgot all about people we signed. My head wasn't in off-season mode yet, but no, you're right.
No, you didn't see the 6, 7 anyway. Um,
I can't stand that. I did not see it. My mind did
uh,
not pick up on that. That has to be taking a sidebar from sports, the stupidest internet trend I've ever seen in my life. I wish people went back. I don't want to say the eating Tide Pods, but go back to the cinnamon challenge
that was
and
dumber. That was definitely dumber. The eating
oh
Tide
my God,
Pods.
like
I mean, but here's the thing, right? My
oh,
generation had one too, 21. We had like there's a couple of them. So I'm not that mad about it. The one thing I will
it
say
just
is it is getting
annoys me. I'm
annoying.
not mad. Like
Yeah, I will get it does annoy me, but like I work at a high school, so I'm kind of like used
mm,
to being annoyed by teenagers, so it doesn't bother me that much really. But no, you literally were just like 6, 7, so I had to do
yeah,
it
I
for
didn't
the
even
for the
realize it.
viewers.
Oh
It
my
was funny
God.
too, you even said it in the cadence.
In last moment of the sidebar, I went to Culver's the other day, and they give you a little number
Hmm.
order, and they go 1 through 99, blah blah blah. I got 67, and the guy who put it on my little windshield thing's like, "Oh, lucky you." I'm like, "Why?" And then he's like, "I'm like, oh my God!" Like,
Like
so
a
I'm like, "Yeah, I
brother.
can't escape it." The dude was like 42, so I'm just
Right.
like, "Whatever, man." Yeah.
Yeah, but moving on, we have playoff hopes. We have some scenarios here I wanted to run through with the viewers real quick, so that everybody kind of knows what's going on these last few weeks because we're getting down to the wire. We're getting down to the nitty gritty. Okay, so scenario one, and thank you to the Athletic for writing this article to make it easy for everyone. So if you want to check that out, it's the Athletic. It is under Lions playoff scenario chances, so pretty easy to find. But point being, um, the first scenario is the Lions go 3-0 and make the playoffs. Um, so the pack. Let me read this first. The Bears lose at least one of their next two games against the Packers and 49ers. Say the Bears lose to the Packers but beat the 49ers, they'd be 11-5 entering week 18. So the winning out would mean that we secure um
We would tie with
the
them. But we
NFC
would hold the
North.
tiebreaker. Yeah.
Yes, so
Oh,
we would win the NFC North if that were the
wouldn't the
case.
Packers have to
Because
lose too, though?
so here's the thing. Um, I believe that's what it says here. Or no, I'm sorry. Either way, the Lions are in this scenario.
Okay.
If the Bears lose to the Packers but beat the 49ers, the Bears would be 11-5 entering Week 18. And then if the Lions beat both of the teams before that, we would then jump Chicago for that
Yeah.
wild card spot.
Yep. We would take the wild
However,
card, and they would miss completely.
yeah, and
Oh, how
however,
glorious that would be.
there is a scenario too, which is where we win the NFC North, which is the Packers lose two of their next three, um, and uh, we beat the Bears, which the Bears would also have to lose. Let's see. Actually, I'm just going to read this whole thing. So the Packers lose their next two games against the Bears and Ravens. The Packers, blah blah blah. You never want to see. Never mind. What are we? Where are we at? If the Packers lose to the Bears in Chicago, then they lose to the Ravens, they'd be 9-6-1. And then a win over the Vikings in week 18 would get them to 10-6-1. But if the Lions win out and finish 11-6, the Packers would fall below the Lions. Again, the Lions have to go 3-0. The Packers Bears game on Sunday is crucial. Because if the Bears win, the Lions need the Packers to lose to either the Ravens or the Vikings over the last 2 weeks. If the Packers beat the Bears, the Lions can secure a playoff spot with a win in Chicago as long as they win out. Okay, is everybody with me? Okay, feel like that was a lot of information at one time, but essentially, either way, we really want the Packers to beat the Bears this weekend because that'll help us out more at the end of the season. But we could get lucky where the Packers then lose to the Vikings and then the Ravens as well, and then we could win the NFC North if we win out. So that's the scenario where we win the NFC North. If both the Bears and the Packers go 1-2 the last 3 games. So there is one scenario. Now, the nightmare scenario, however, is if the Bears beat the Packers and the 49ers, they'll be 12-4 entering Week 18. NFC North is clinched for the
Yep.
Bears. But if the Packers lose to the Bears but win their last 2 games, they'd be 11-5-1 and own the tiebreaker and would make the playoffs over us. So either way, we need both of them to lose 1 game minimum. We're in a weird situation right now where I remember a couple years ago with the Seahawks, we were scoreboard watching. That's kind of where we're at right now, unfortunately for us as Lions fans. We just are hoping and praying that not only can we win out, but some other things can happen as well. So,
I'm sure there's also a situation where all 3 of us can make it, and one of the other wild card drops. I don't have the things in front of me, but no.
yeah, there is,
Oh.
but they would have to lose out, and that's just not
Okay.
likely.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
And it would have to be the Seahawks. Or I'm sorry. No, actually, they're both 11-3, so it doesn't really make that big of a difference.
Oh yeah.
which
Then
team.
they. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be tough. But either way, it's going to be an uphill battle for us, and we'll see what happens. Right now, though, we are at a. Let me see. We are currently at a 95% chance to make the playoffs, based on the odds in every game. Based on the Packers
Oh.
versus the Bears
Damn.
and Bears versus the Niners and us versus the
Yeah.
last 2 teams. So it is a high chance right now today that we do make the playoffs. But if we lose, let's say to the Steelers, that drops all the way to 38%. If we lose to the Vikings and beat the Steelers and beat the Bears, so actually let me rephrase that. If we go 2-1 and our losses to the Steelers, it's 38%. If we go 2-1 and our losses to the Vikings, it's 40%. But if we go 2-1 with a loss to the Bears, it drops all the way to 9% because that's that scenario where basically the Packers have to lose out and Seattle or LA, probably Seattle though, has to also lose out for us to make it. So very tough situation.
Yeah. I'm quite annoyed right now because I just pulled up the playoff scenarios and whatnot, and just looking at the Buccaneers as the 4th seed at 7-7 is annoying.
Yep, and that's one thing that happens all the time where every so often there's a team from usually the NFC South for some fucking reason. But For some reason, like when the Panthers made it a few years ago, they were like 8-8, or even I think they might even been 7-9 when they made the playoffs because they won that division. It's a very odd situation with that, but I feel like in my opinion, right, it should be division winners definitely get a playoff spot, but they should not definitely get a home playoff game just because they won their division. Because no reason that the Seattle Seahawks, who are 11-3, would have to go on the road to play Tampa Bay, who's 7-7 in the playoffs. Just kind of crazy.
Yeah, it just blows my mind. But it is what it is. I mean, that's the rule. It's always been the rule. So,
Yep.
or at least for modern history, obviously it's changed over time. But I do, yeah, just for in general, without playing out the other weeks, just as a blanket statement, according to NFL.com, if the Lions win against Pittsburgh, we have a 47% chance, and if we lose, we have a 15.
Yep.
That's with the other 2 weeks being the unknown. But I also saw a post on X earlier where if all the Vegas betting favorites won every game from now until the end of the year, the Lions would be in the playoffs. So Vegas is right more times than not, but I'm hoping they're right every time for the,
Right.
for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But do with that what you will, unfortunately.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, that's just kind of where we are at, unfortunately, as Lions fans. But we're gonna kind of wait and see. That's all we can really do at this point. But with that being said, either way, it comes down to that Bears game, and that scares the shit out of me. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, look, man, as a Lions fan, nothing I think would hurt more than losing to Ben Johnson's Bears while they clinch the NFC North in his first season as head coach and keep us out of the playoffs.
And
That
nothing,
right there would be terrible.
you are correct, but nothing would bring me more joy than winning that game and knocking the Bears out of the playoffs as we take their spot.
Sounds nice. It sure
We
does.
already beat them by 30 or whatever the hell it was. I mean,
And look, man, that was a long time ago.
yeah, we can
Shit
probably beat them by
happens.
40 this time.
Sounds nice. It sure sounds
Hang on, I gotta
great.
refill my Kool-Aid. I got.
And that's the thing. Look, I'm not saying we're going to lose or anything, but it's just like my hands are sweating, brother. That's all I'm saying. I am nervous
I say
because
if we drop a game or two before that game doesn't even matter anymore. So it's.
fingers crossed we don't, but man,
Oh, of course not. But
yeah,
yeah,
I just am like, as long as we make the playoffs, I think this is a winning, a W of a season, if you ask me, because of how tumultuous it has been from start to finish. But with that being said, that's going to be it for the Lions segment. We're going to move on now to our games of the week, which I've realized we haven't really touched on last week's games of the week when we do this week's. I personally am just gonna like recap, I guess, what my games of the week were last week, which was LA at KC, which, as we saw, was a good game. Chargers won that game. Unfortunately, Mahomes tore his ACL, out for the year. So I think I made a good call with that one because, as we all knew going in, that's a divisional game, big game for the Chiefs, and the Chargers as well. And then we had Buffalo at New England, which I think was an amazing game. New England got up like I think it was 21-0 at one point in this game, and Buffalo came back and let me see this, won the frickin' game. I couldn't remember exactly if they won the game or not, but they won the game 35-31 and were down 21-0 at one point, which is just nuts. So solid games of the week last week, and this week I have LA Rams at Seattle, which obviously the game of the week. It is on in about 3 hours. That's going to be big just in general. I mean, it's going to be a great game. Lions fans, you don't really got too much to watch for, unfortunately, because it doesn't really matter what happens between those two games for our playoff hopes, but should be a good game. Interdivisional rivalry. Both teams are 11-3. This is kind of like for the division in a lot of ways. So should be a really good game, and it's prime time, of course. And then I have Green Bay at Chicago for the obvious reasons. For the same reasons as the Rams game with Seattle, it's going to be a good game. Interdivisional could be for the division, depending on how things go. And this has added watch factor for Lions fans because we do want the Packers to win this game simply because it's more likely the Packers lose one of the two after that than I would say the Bears do lose both of the last two. So we'll see what happens, but it'll be a good game regardless, as we all know, as it is every year, the oldest rivalry in the NFL. But with that being said, what are your games of the week this week?
Yeah, going back to last week's, as you mentioned, I had a pretty bad prediction for a good game with the Browns versus Bears. I thought Shadur Sanders coming off his 370-yard game, and the defense would shake off a rough game they had in that one. And I thought that game would at least be close, but that was 31-3 Bears. So I'm wrong. And then my other game, which was a good game, was Green Bay and Denver.
Hmm.
Broncos won by 8, so I mean, awesome for us. A lot of the scenarios we talked about today would not be possible without that loss. And then moving on to this week, where's my tab? I got Jacksonville at Denver. Denver
Hmm.
again. They are in my opinion, fun team to watch. I know a lot of people don't like defensive football. A lot of people like to see the scores run up, but I mean, defense can be fun too when it's played
Oh
well. I
yeah, dude.
understand if you only watch the Lions and like let's just say you turn on your TVs at Sunday at 1, you watch the Lions, you turn it off. I get you probably haven't seen a great defense in a while. No offense to the Lions. We're always offensive led. But when you're watching a good defense, it can still be a fun game. And Jacksonville is kind of a surprise this year, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe Trevor Lawrence had 6 touchdowns last week. I think he had
That
five
sounds right.
throwing, one rushing. Or he had
That
four
sounds right.
passing, one rushing. It was
I
at
had to play
least
him in
five.
fantasy, so he had about 50 points on my noggin.
Yeah. I'm like, it was at least 4 passing and one rushing, but it might have been 5 and 1.
Let's see here. He had 5 touchdowns passing and 1 rushing.
Okay,
He
so
was
I
their
had it right.
leading
Yeah.
rusher, by the way, as well.
Yeah, so watching someone coming off that explosion, obviously that's not what you do every week, but he's hot right now. And let's see what he does against that Denver defense. That's one of the reasons I circled that game. And then, of course, my second game, as you mentioned, is Green Bay at Chicago for all the obvious reasons, as we've already talked about. That game is going to be the one that I would not be surprised if, ratings wise, it would be the most watched game of the season to this point. Because I know all the Lions fans and obviously Bears and Packers fans will be
Hmm.
in on that too.
Yeah.
So I expect that
And
one to do
isn't that
very well,
Sunday night as
TV
well?
ratings.
Is that Sunday night football? I think.
Um, that is, if
Pretty
not, it
sure.
should be. They have the schedule all diced on
Yep.
my computer here.
Yep.
December
Saturday
20th?
night. Saturday
Saturday,
night.
okay. Yeah,
So either
because
way,
we're going
prime
into the
time.
holiday. Yeah. Saturday at 8:20.
Yep. So
Saturday?
yeah, brother, we're here
Okay.
now. We're at the last few weeks of the season. It's how it's and we got college football playoff coming up. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for that too. So these next few weekends are gonna be good football.
I'm just not familiar with NFL on Saturdays other than playoffs. Because normally they have playoffs on Saturday and Sunday. But
I mean, they've done that for the last few years that I can remember. For the
uh,
last like three
well, to
weeks
be
of the
fair, I
season.
do have a terrible memory. So
Valid. I feel you there, bro. um, but with that being said, that's all we got for this one. As always, links are in the description. Check out Fanatics for your gear. It is the perfect time to buy some Lions playoff merch to put some good juju in the air. I will be wearing my Lions 2024. This is a golf shirt jersey, but I'll be wearing my Lions 2024 playoff shirts for the next couple games, just so we can feel a little bit better,
not Lions,
remembering the
but I
good
did get
times.
this on Fanatics.
There we go. See, and with that being said, links are in the description. You can find me at JSoSweet. You can find James at Gullet_James. You can find both of us at MIFB Network and MichiganFootballNetwork.com. As always, we appreciate you guys for watching. We will be back next Tuesday at 6 p.m. because Wednesday's Christmas Eve. But with that being said, we'll see you all in the next one. Peace.